All right, welcome to 3 Ways to Grow Your Business with a Podcast. All right, we are going to dive in and get started here. All right, 3 Ways to Grow Your Business with a Podcast. I am your host, Seth Green. I am the co-host of the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington, the original shark on the hit TV show Shark Tank, and the inventor of the infomercial. Some awesome stuff that's been happening to us lately that is relevant to you, both because of our podcast and because of the podcast we produce for our clients. We were just written about in Inc. magazine for attracting clients to dominate your market with podcasting. Then we were written about in Forbes, is podcast marketing right for your business? So super exciting. Before we dive into the 3 ways to grow your business with a podcast, I am going to tell you the story of how I kidnapped Kevin Harrington, because everybody always asks me that. So about 5-6 years ago, a friend of mine named Tim from BNI, Business Networking International, calls me, says, hey, did you know Kevin? Hey, I know you're a big fan of the show Shark Tank. Did you know Kevin Harrington's coming to Buffalo to speak? I said, nobody comes to Buffalo to speak. It turned out it was for an EO, Entrepreneurs Organization event that he founded. I moved my 8 meetings that day. I paid $300 for a ticket, and I went to go see him speak. And then at the end of his speech at the back of the room, he was sitting autographing books because he was selling books. He had a new book out and taking pictures and signing autographs and stuff for social media. And I'm standing in line thinking, if I just ask for a picture or if I just ask for an autograph, I'm not going to stand out. Everybody's doing the same thing. I have to do something different. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And it came to me as it was my turn. I said, Mr. Harrington, I'm here to take you to the airport. And he said, this was pre-Uber. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just going to take a cab. And I said, no, I insist. I am taking you to the airport. And he said, okay, that's very nice of you. I have 2 meetings right after this, and then I can go to the airport. Why don't you come to the meetings, be a fly on the wall, watch me work? And then after that, you can take me to the airport. And I said, oh, all right. I'll happily go with you. So I'm texting my wife, of course, that I am going to take Kevin to the airport. And the first thing she says back is, in your car? At the time, I had a Toyota RAV4 because we only had 2 kids back then. And I said, well, honey, it's Buffalo. I can't go rent a Bentley or a Ferrari by the hour. And he's got 13 of them, so I don't know if it would really impress him. She said, well, can you at least go clean your car? And I said, well, I'm supposed to be in meetings with him. She said, pretend you have to go to the bathroom and go clean your car. So I cleaned my car. I drove slow to the airport, got 20 to 30 minutes with him, gave him my pitch. He said, send me what you got. I sent him a shock and awe box. Well, what I call a shock and awe box. It worked. He said, okay, I'm interested in what you've got. And that was the start of our relationship. And it's been, obviously, we've been together for quite a few years since then. So before we dive into the 3 ways to grow your business with the podcast, I'm going to share with you something I learned from Blair Warren in his 1-sentence persuasion course, which is literally the 1 sentence that tells you everything you need to know about marketing. And if you want to write it down, now would be a good time to start writing. So the 1 sentence, and then I'll share with you how you're going to apply it to your business with a podcast, is people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears. So encourage their dreams. You can do it. Justify their failures. It's not your fault. Allay their fears. It's going to be okay. Confirm their suspicions. The reason you failed is that it's not your fault is because there's stuff they didn't want you to know, and help them throw rocks at their enemies, because the enemy of is my friend. Does that make sense? Awesome. So now how you can apply that to your business with a strategic podcast. First of all, let's talk about who this is for. So you've got to have a high transaction value. If you're selling $3 slices of pizza, this is probably not a good fit for you. If you are selling products and services that are hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, this makes perfect sense. You've got to have 30 minutes a week because you're going to be doing an interview every week if you do this right, and it'll be 20 to 30 minutes long. And then you've got to be coachable. You've got to be willing to follow the directions I give you, because we've done this process dozens and dozens and dozens of times for all of those shows that we produce and those hundreds of episodes we've been a part of. So again, got to be coachable. So if you're tired of being one of the best kept secrets in your niche, if you're frustrated with the fact that if you just had more of the right people to see, your business would go to a whole new level, this is for you. And I'm going to share with you how you can accomplish all of that with a podcast. This is our client, Craig Turner, who is a political consultant. He is a local political consultant. If you want to run for local office, whether that is school board, county commissioner, comptroller, mayor of your town, whatever that might be, he is your guy to get you elected. And normally you have to hire him, and we created a series of info products, a couple best-selling books on Amazon, a hit podcast, all designed to build his brand authority and generate more people in the door to hire him for these virtual services that he doesn't have to physically go do anymore. This is Ian Wellham of Hayden Rock, and they consult with accountants and help them decommoditize themselves from price, help their customers and their clients see them as more valuable, and help them totally reinvent their business. And again, hit podcast, hit book. They got their money back from what they invested in their podcast before the book even came out, which is another secret I'm going to share with you later, because someone who was a guest on the show hired them on the spot. So that's totally possible. Now, if you stay till the end of today's presentation, I'll even share with you how you can get on my podcast, The Sharkpreneur Show. So first of all, quick poll, type in the chat box for me or on Facebook, what type of business are you in? I will wait. If you guys type in what type of business are you in, then that way we can skew this a little bit more custom towards your businesses. Mikkel, what business are you in? Mike, what business are you? I'm not going to call on everybody, but if we could get a couple quick comments in the chat box, that would be great. All right, I see financial services. I see chiropractor. I see business consultant. I see marketer. Okay, awesome. So this will work with chiropractor. It depends on what you're selling. It can totally work. If you're just going for the $35 adjustment, I don't know that I would necessarily do it. However, if you are selling care plans, this absolutely could work for you. All right. So in case you don't know who I am, I've written 7 best-selling books, and my latest book, Market Domination for Podcasting, is on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. That's my wonderful family. That's my wife, Rebecca, and our kids, Max, Ella, and Lily, at my book signing at Barnes & Noble. Oh, my God. Miguel says, I went to a BNI meeting a couple weeks ago. That's awesome. Nathan Segal says, Blair Warren. Yes, he was the one-sentence persuasion course guy. Miguel says, I am in the international entrepreneurship business. Okay. I'm not sure what international entrepreneurship means, but that sounds really cool. So anyway, this was my first book signing at Barnes & Noble, which was really cool to have strangers I didn't know come up and ask for my autograph as they bought my book. So let's back up for just a second and say, what is a podcast? I don't want to assume that you know what a podcast is. So a podcast is like a radio show on your phone. It's a radio show on your what? On your phone. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want a podcast? Well, whether you like this guy or hate him, this is Rush Limbaugh, and he's built himself a large net worth, a large following on the back of his radio show and being a personality on the radio. Now, if you want to spend the millions and millions and millions of dollars it takes to build a national radio presence, you certainly can. We're not the firm for you, but you certainly could. However, if you'd like to do that in a much more cost-effective manner and not have it take years and not have to be that controversial and repel all of those people, then this is the right place for you. Now, why don't people podcast? This is, hopefully you recognize him, Stone Cold Steve Austin from the WWE champion wrestler. And for years, Stone Cold said he wanted to do a podcast, but he was afraid of the technology. How many of you can relate to that? How many of you say, I don't know if I'm tech savvy enough to do a podcast, right? What do you think, Skip? How do you feel about your tech savviness? This is literally all the technology you need now. You can literally do this with a phone. We do now, obviously, that's not ideal. We're going to share with you a free software application that you can do all your podcasts on in just a minute. However, if you wanted to do it on a phone, we literally have clients who do it. And if you're in a local market and interviewing people face-to-face, you could even do one of these digital voice recorders that you can get from Office Depot or Staples for $20. Now, what happened to Steve? So Steve got over his fear of the technology. And then let me tell you, there's two different types of podcasts. There's the interview podcast where you interview a guest. And then there's what I call the rant podcast. Now, you don't have to be mad to do a rant. It just means you talking by yourself. So two of my favorite rant podcasts are Roy Williams' Wizard of Ads. It's a marketing podcast. It's about 7 minutes long. It's absolutely incredible. And then my favorite inspirational rant is Garrett White's Daily Fuel, otherwise known as Wake Up Warrior, Warrior on Fire. So those are rant podcasts. A interview podcast is the kind we recommend. Now, Steve said, I don't want to do an interview. I want to just be me. I want it to just be me on the air. I'm just going to talk for an hour. And we'll talk about why you shouldn't do an hour show in just a minute. But I want to do an hour show. I've been wrestling for decades. I got all these stories of wrestling and life on the road and celebrities and girls and all this stuff. I could talk for days. Okay. Goes into the studio, hits the record button, goes live. 7.5 minutes later, the mic goes dead. Steve, what happened? It's really hard to be interesting by yourself. Now, I didn't say I told you so because he's a lot bigger than me and I didn't want to get body slammed, but it's really hard to be interesting by yourself. So this is Lori Ellis McLeod. She's a financial advisor working with business owners in Madison, Wisconsin. So we turned her show into a book and made her a best-selling author on Amazon, had a book signing where people came and asked for her autograph, just like I did with Kevin. And again, can do the same. You can do the same thing. So if you didn't write down the one sentence persuasion course from Blair Warren, then start writing now. These are the 3 ways to grow your business with a podcast. Number 1, increase your retention and your referrals. So this is Brian Ridgway in the middle. He is a spell breaker. So I won't explain what his spiritual transformational coaching is. It's absolutely incredible if you experience it, but not less than a week after he was on our show, he showed up on my calendar again. And I said, what's up? You booked on my calendar. He said, I want to introduce you to the CEO, to the founder of this network marketing company I become involved with. They have supplements and stuff that are beyond organic, and they're the most natural, best ingredients ever. And magically that happened a week after he was on our show. Coincidence? I think not. What do you guys think? So it can get you referrals. It can also increase your retention. If I interview my clients on the show, they're more likely to stick longer because they were just on the show and they probably talked about how fabulous our relationship is and how wonderful we were on the show. So it'd be incongruent for them to fire us a week later. Number 2 is new referral sources. So this is Michael Drew from Promote a Book. He's got a string of about 91 consecutive New York Times best-selling books to his credit. He didn't write them. He made them New York Times bestsellers. So he has written a couple, but if you want to get your book to the New York Times bestseller list, Michael's the one you call. And after on the show, I reached out and I mentioned, hey, you know what? You've got all these authors to your credit. Not all of those authors have podcasts, but perhaps they should. And that started a conversation. So you can develop new referral sources by having a podcast. You can also get new prospects. This is Scott Whitaker, who has a membership site about membership sites. And I thought his membership site people might be good prospects for a podcast to promote their membership sites. So we had him on the show, did a great interview, followed up, and then turned that conversation into a proposal about how we could help him market, how we could serve his membership site clients, and how we could market to get him more membership site clients. So the 3 ways, again, are retention and referrals, new referral sources, and new prospects. So how do you do it? There are 7 easy steps. The first one is to build your list. Who is your target market? Who do you want to interview on your show? Do you want retention? And in which case, what clients do you want to retain? Do you want referral sources? Do you know who they are? And do you want to know more prospects or clients? And do you know who those folks are? Build that list. And then step 2 is market to them for the interview. Step 3, after they've said yes, is conduct the interview and record it. And our preferred recording device is not the tape recorder she's holding, but the app we're using right now for this webinar called Zoom. Zoom for a interview that is less than 40 minutes is free. And Zoom will record both the video and the audio as separate tracks. So that means we can take the audio, edit it, and make it an audio podcast and syndicate that to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those awesome places. And we can take the video and edit that and make it a web TV show and put it on YouTube and Facebook Live or YouTube Live. So you're going to conduct the interview, which means you're a reporter, right? And you're going to ask some questions like who, what, where, why, and how. They're going to be more detailed than that, but you get the idea. Step 4 is you're going to transcribe those interviews and you're going to write them down. So someone is going to transcribe them for you and literally type up every word that is said. And then they're going to get edited because the way we talk is not the way people read. You've got to take out the ums and the uhs and the you knows and the likes and all of that stuff that happens in regular conversation, but that you wouldn't want to read in a book. Then, of course, you're going to wash, rinse, and repeat until you have enough interviews, if it's up to us, to make a physical book. Not an ebook, but literally like a physical bookstore length book. When you're doing a book, it's going to need graphic design. So it's going to need a front cover, a back cover, and a spine. It's going to need to be laid out so it reads well. And it's going to need to get published. You can publish yourself on CreateSpace on Amazon. However, we started a separate publishing company to handle all of our clients' books because we're publishing so many, 5 to 10 a month. So then if you have a real publishing company publish you, you get to say it was a real publishing company, and we'll even send you $1, and you can legally say you got to advance based on your book, which of course increases your authority and credibility. If you're local, in a local market, you would have a book launch party where everyone in the book comes to celebrate the launch of the book and sign autographs and take pictures. And then, of course, they're going to bring people with them because how many people have ever been to a book signing party? How many people have ever been in a book? So if you're a financial advisor and you are and you interviewed attorneys and accountants, they're going to bring their clients to come see them be in the book signing because it makes them look good. And of course, those folks all get to meet you and you are the celebrity whose book it is. So a lot of that business will come your way. The next step then is to launch the book on Amazon and push it to number 1 in your category. The reason for that is if you can get it to be number 1 in your category for 24 hours and you've got a screenshot of it, that's proof. And Amazon will accept that. And you can say that you are a number 1 or number 2 or whatever, Kindle, whatever, best-selling author. And then, of course, you should stay in front of the people that are in your podcast and in your book. If you're local, you could have a physical networking group where you have everybody to a restaurant for lunch. And then you're the only person who does what you do in that meeting. So any of those referrals would come to you. And if you're not in a local market, you could do a virtual mastermind together where you're on Zoom, something like this, and where you're all meeting to catch up and talk about what's going on in your businesses, how you're promoting the book. And again, of course, the business that's coming your way. Hi, Jody. Nice to have you. So quick summary of those 7 steps. You're going to interview your ideal referral sources. You're going to turn those interviews into a book. You're going to market the book and publish it. And then you're going to stay in front of them. So the names have changed over the years, but this is our process, our podcast process map, where we write your introduction. We design your cover art. So you need an introduction. Because a radio show has an introduction. Rush Limbaugh doesn't introduce himself, right? There's a professional announcer who does that. So you need an introduction. You need cover art, that thumbnail image that shows up on your podcast app on your phone to get people to listen to you. You need a voiceover for that introduction. You need guests, which we talked about. And then those recordings need to all get edited so that they look professional. Needs to get syndicated to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Those episodes need to get promoted, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. They need to get transcribed, turned into a book, formatted, laid out, edited, graphic designed, and then a book launch, all on the back of the show. So your guests will promote that they were on your show. And then when you turn it into a book, they will promote you again to their followings because they're now in your book. Now, the way you promote your podcast is not only are you going to promote it, but you're going to get your guests to promote it. And that's part of the strategic thought process that goes into who your guests should be, because you want people who have lists that you want to get in front of. So for example, if Kevin Harrington has 2.2 million entrepreneurs that follow him, a percentage of those folks are great potential clients for our marketing firm. So again, you want to make sure don't leave it up to your guests to promote that they were on the show. Give them the graphics, write the social media posts, write the emails for them. Just say, here you go, John. All you got to do is copy and paste on this day. And then call him and make sure he's actually doing it, because he may forget. And if you leave it up to him to write it, he won't know what to write. So again, we post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever is appropriate. If we've got the budget, if our clients have the budget, we will literally run Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads for every episode to boost the number of people who see that. And that is, again, our goal, to get as many of the right potential prospects to listen or watch the show as possible, driving business back to you. Does that make sense? Can you see how this might work in your business? Awesome. So let me ask you a quick question. How many of you are excited about what we're talking about, right? It's really exciting. However, you might be feeling a little bit like this guy, like you're drinking from a fire hose, because I've thrown a lot of information at you in a very short period of time. But there's hope, because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you can see that you can get all of this. You can have a podcast, you can have ebook, physical book, social media content, blog posts. We're going to get into basically all the content you might need for your business done for you in 20 to 30 minutes a week. So let me ask you one more question. Is it okay if I share with you how you can get this all done for you? Yes, please. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Moving forward. So how are you going ahead and get this done for you? First of all, is it worth it? Is it worth it to have a podcast, have a weekly radio show, and have that turned into a book and become a category best-selling author? Well, this is a little bit about how my life has changed since we started podcasting. So top left, that's my daughter, Ella. We're on the set of CBS the News talking about her children's book that's launched. Again, she was sort of inspired by me. She wrote a children's book. We got it illustrated and published, and it's available at ellaraygreen.com. And she was on the news as a 9-year-old author. And she's doing awesome. She's got about 6,000 Facebook followers. And we recently flew to New York City to audition. She's an actress, and she got a Broadway audition to play young Anna in the musical Frozen on Broadway. We don't know, fingers crossed. They haven't cast yet, so we don't know if she's got it, and we're moving to New York. But I was able to do that at the last possible minute again, because I no longer have to worry about where our next client is coming from. This is our waiting list of the people and the dollar amounts they're going to be paying when we take them on. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's literally 22 clients on there that we will be in the process of onboarding when we get there. Joanne, nice. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate it. Top right is Lily. She's our dancer. And then in the bottom middle, that's Max. He's our all-star soccer goalie. That's him literally making a diving, jumping in the air save in the penalty kick shootout of the championship game of a tournament we recently played in. You can see the other goalie looking on, not happy, because Max is awesome. And I've coached Max for 8 years now of soccer. I've been to every single game, every single practice, because, other than the ones when I was traveling, because of this process that we're about to do for you. Don't just take my word for it. This is David, a client of ours. This is his book. He's a financial planner, navigating life transitions, making the right decisions to secure your financial future. David says, sorry for the delay, so busy. The book has already been a huge success. I gave 3 copies to each participant with a letter explaining how to order more, using your template and mentioning the luncheon. Again, he's in a local market. I expected the responses to be positive, but they were very positive, with their participants telling me of their plans to market the book. Your process wasn't what I expected. It took longer than I thought. However, you got me in front of CPAs and attorneys I otherwise never could have met. I've already gotten referrals and business from them, and my book isn't even out yet. I'm very happy with the results so far. So you can get results like that too. Our normal price to do all of that is $2,000 a month. Would it be worth it for $2,000 a month to get a podcast, get a book, and have an army of guests who promote your show to their following, and an army of people who are in the book who promote the book to your following, exposing you to a whole new audience? I'm obviously biased. I think it's absolutely worth it because we've done it a few dozen times. And this is Tony Robbins, who says, if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. So if you want something different in your business, you've got to do something different. And I'm going to recommend that our podcast into book program is something different that you should do, because we'll make it easy for you and we'll do all of the work. Now, there are two big reasons why people don't do this. Number one is procrastination. They put it off till tomorrow. They think about it and then they forget about it. And number two is the money. I'm going to try and do something about both of them. So we're going to put a 24-hour deadline on the irresistible offer I'm about to make you to hopefully solve both of those problems. So what you're going to get with our podcast gold level, we're going to build your list for you of the people you want. We're going to get, which is priceless. We're going to get them to be on the show. We're going to execute our multi-step, multimedia marketing campaign to get them to say yes, which we normally charge $2,997 for. We're going to write your interview questions for you, which we charge $800 for by itself. We're going to design your cover art for $100. We're going to write your audio intro for $100. We're going to produce your audio intro for $300. We're going to edit your audio, which is $70 an episode. We're going to edit your video, which is $100 an episode. We're going to syndicate your show to iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And then when you get enough downloads and episodes, we can get you to Spotify and iHeartRadio, which is priceless because you don't have to do the work. We'll also syndicate your video show to YouTube. We will transcribe every episode at $60 an episode. We'll edit every transcription at $60 an episode. We'll write your book for you for $2,997. We'll do the graphic design of your book for $1,000. We'll do the layout of your book for $1,000, and we'll publish the book, which is priceless. And then we'll market the book and push it up as high as we can on Amazon, which is also priceless. So what does that look like? Well, here's Kel Reese, who was number one. His book was number one for budgeting and number 3 for money management. And this is John Smith, who is number 1 for elder care and number 7 for healthy living. And again, all of those services together, if you got them separately, would be $11,482. But don't worry. Our regular price is $2,000 a month, and you won't even pay that. But is it worth $2,000 a month? To get $11,482 for $2,000 a month, is it worth it? Absolutely. Today only, for 24 hours, we're going to eliminate your procrastination by dropping that price to $14.97 a month so that you can get $500 a month off. But wait, there's more. That is available at marketdominationllc.com/podcastgold. We have 8 slots available for both gold and our next platinum level, simply because of the bandwidth we have with our staff right now. Platinum includes ego bait graphics for every episode, where we literally make graphics of not only the person in the show art, but a quote from throughout the episode, which, as you can see, got Larry to share a whole lot more. So we turn every episode, in addition to a chapter in the book, it also gets rewritten as a long form blog post, 2,000 to 3,000 words, for the purposes of search engine optimization, which is what Google wants now, 2,000 to 3,000 word blog posts. And then we blast it out through our proprietary SEO software to help you get ranked. This is Mitch Russo, who literally in less than 30 days gained 70 organic keywords per week, improved his ranking on Alexa by over 200,000, and increased his social media shares by more than 50%. That is available at marketdominationllc.com/platinum. Hey, Trish. Hey, Darren Spindler. Long time no talk. How is Conquering the World going? Darren is a fellow brilliant marketer. I've known Darren for years through Planet Dan Kennedy. Darren's a genius behind Kids Bowl Free. I believe, Darren, you've now opened a gym. I think you were talking about some martial arts stuff. He's doing some absolutely incredible marketing. Our platinum service is normally $3,000 a month for everything. But wait, don't worry. For the next 24 hours only, you will get $1,000 off. It's actually a bigger discount on platinum than it is on gold, and it will only be $19.97 a month for everything. So those two are at marketdominationllc.com/podcast gold or podcast platinum. It is your choice. I will take another sip of water and open it up for questions and answers. You can type in the chat box or you can chat on Facebook, either way. Okay, it's $2,000 a month. How long is it for? Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. So our minimum commitment is 6 months because on average, it takes about 6 months from start to finish, to the day you hire us, to the day of that book launch party and the day of that book launch on Amazon. Because again, it's going to take 30 to 45 days for us to do all the preliminary work. And then you'll be doing an interview every week because most of our clients find they can handle 20 to 30 minute time commitment a week. You'll be doing an interview every week. You've got to do enough to turn it into a book. And then we've got to do all the work to turn it into a book and market it. So it's a 6-month commitment. And then after that, we can part ways or you can renew and do it again. We have a whole lot of clients who have done who want to keep going. They built up a following on the podcast. They want to stay in front of those people. They want us to keep doing the work. And they want us to turn into another book because it works so well. So that is a great question. I am a financial advisor. Will my compliance department approve this? So it depends on your compliance department. We've actually had advisors do this on almost every broker dealer. We've never had a problem with compliance on the book side because the book is static content. It can be approved by compliance and it doesn't change. Now, there are some brokerage firms who have said they won't let you do a podcast, but you can do the interviews and you can turn them into a book and you can market the book. So if it turns out you can't do the podcast, we'll work that out. There are a couple firms that have said no to that because somebody could comment on the podcast page on iTunes and they don't have control as a brokerage firm over what's written. Now, obviously, if you're a financial advisor, you're not going to do an investment podcast. You're not going to be talking to CPAs and attorneys about what stocks to recommend. So you should be safe, but every firm is different. Are there any places this won't work? Sure. If you are in a local market as opposed to national and you live in a really small town, you probably shouldn't do this. So for example, we had a gentleman who was in a really small town in Colorado and we didn't know this. And we took him on and tried valiantly to get him guests for his show. And I think we only were, after like 3 months, we had only gotten like 4 or 5. And we had sent multi-step direct mail campaigns. We had made phone calls. We had sent emails. We were just banging our heads against the wall. I ended up, giving him his money back because we weren't able to do enough to do the book. So if you're in a really small town, one stoplight, don't do it if you could do it nationally, then you're fine, but don't do it just in that town. One other reason it doesn't work is if you don't do the interviews. Now you laugh, but it's really true. We actually had another woman, there's something up in Colorado. We had another woman in Colorado who hired us. We got all the guests. She was in a much bigger city. They said yes. And then she never showed for the interviews. And then we called her. Hey, we didn't get your the recordings, didn't hear back from her. We finally called the guests and said, did you have the interview? And they said, no, we never heard from her. So if you don't do the interviews, it won't work. You actually have to do it. All right. I do not see any other questions. So again, those are at marketdominationllc.com/podcast gold or podcast platinum for the details and to sign up. We've only got 8. Okay. We don't have 8 slots anymore. Wow. Okay. 4 are gone. Okay. We got 4 slots left and it doesn't matter which one you pick in terms of slots. So we have 4 total. So whether that's 3 gold people, 1 platinum, 2 and 2, doesn't matter to us. So there's 4 slots now left. Go grab one and we look forward to serving you.